But let's try. I'm going to try to squeeze what I have to tell you within the first 30 minutes, and then you can come the next. I'll extend the invite as I get deeper into my sordid tales, darling. So for starters, what I'm a little upset about is that I realized, like when I was prepping for today, that Versus comes on at 5. You know, Lovecraft comes on at 6. I'm talking to my West Coast peeps. I literally thought that I was going to be watching Lovecraft first and then Versus, and now I have to push Lovecraft back. So here's my thing. Everybody, all of my friends, all of my colleagues, all of my associates who have gotten those damn screeners, everybody's been talking out the side of their neck about episode 5 for weeks now. Like, ooh, episode 5 about to tear y'all up. Episode 5 about to mess y'all up. So I'm like, okay, Shar, my emotions are going to run the gamut because everybody's been talking big crap about Lovecraft episode 5, but then I got to turn around to the sweet sounds of our aunties, which is still hard for me. Like, I in real life have an Aunt Gladys. Well, I don't call my aunts auntie or auntie, like they're aunts. Like, that's how I was raised. But I in real life have an Aunt Gladys, so it's hard for me to say, you know, Auntie Gladys, Auntie Patricia. Gladys Maria Knight and Patricia Louise Holt LaBelle. Sorry, I'm getting text messages. But anywho, so yeah, everybody's talking about how episode 5 is that girl, and I don't know how to compartmentalize my emotions. Like, I'm trying to gear up. I'm talking to you all. It's 12:10 here. I'll end around 1 something, and then I'm going straight to the grocery store. Because when I go to the grocery store, my meal, are you all doing meals for the Versus and for the Sunday? My meal, I'm going to get fish fillets from the, you know, from the actual like shop. I'm not getting like the frozen bag of fish. I'm going to fry me some fish. And I'm going to go down the freezer aisle and get me some crinkle cut French fries. I'm frying those as well. And then I haven't decided if I'm going to do one of my salads with the whole produce section in it, you know, with my tomato, my garlic, my onion, and I'm someone who does eat raw onion in salads. If I'm going to do a salad or if I'm going to do like a steamed broccoli. Either way, I haven't had bread in my house in months, but I'm like, do I need to, a fish sandwich would be nice today. Like a fried fish sandwich would be ideal today. Like, I'm not trying to do too much. Like, you know, I live alone. Oh, ABN75 says they're picking up food from a soul food restaurant today. Yeah, I thought about that, but the drive, like, I don't live near a lot of soul food restaurants, and I'm not trying to just do that drive. So I'm going to go up to the grocery store. It ain't nothing for me to batter some fish. And you know how you got to lay it down in the oil? I saw Patti LaBelle do it that way. Grease popping and everything. And she was frying fish. This was a while back on the Facebook Watch. She was just laying, like, I cannot wait. Oh my gosh, the fish is going to be so good with my hot sauce. And so that's what I'll be doing for Versus tonight. Oh, Ray's going to Old Lady Gang. See, I haven't been to Atlanta to try it. Okay. Also, you know, last week when I talked to you all, we were in a damn heat wave and I had to turn on my air and things like that. Now things have cooled down, but you know what? We gotta stay prayerful for the people that are caught up in these damn wildfires. You know, certain parts of the fire, I think a majority of the fire is only 6 or 7% contained. And according to, I think the San Gabriel Valley something or another, and ABC7, our local ABC7 Eyewitness News also reported this. The fires out in California that are going on right now will likely not be 100% contained until mid-October. Like, it's like as if, you know, insanity wasn't going on as it is, you know, within the living in 2020 with the COVID of it all. Now it's like I step outside of my house, and granted the fires aren't close to my apartment, but they're close enough where when I step outside it smells like a damn bonfire. We have this filter, you can't see the sun. The sun is just this orange dot through the smoke, through the clouds. Like, we have not had blue skies in a minute here. And so it's just kind of, and then daylight savings time is right around the corner. The weather's going to change. I'm just like, okay, what is this going to do for my mental health? That seems to be the game that we're playing, that we're all playing, you know, on a month to month. Some of us a week to week, some of us a day to day, and some of us a moment by moment game that we're playing in 2020. Like, what's my mental health going to be like? What's the status of my mental health? Because it's just an onslaught. Like, I have headline fatigue. Like, I just... But I'm good. I'm still good, you all. It's just like, you know, when can I come up for air? And certainly not now with this thick smoke and smog and stuff covering, you know, SoCal. It's not a fun time. So my thoughts and prayers. I hate saying that term because it's like, I feel like the right-leaning folks and Republicans have ruined the term thoughts and prayers. But in all sincerity, it is with the people that are affected with by the fires, by that stupid gender reveal. That stupid gender reveal. Dumb stuff. And for those of you, like I got some messages last week. Yes, I'm still working out. I'm still working out. I know that some of you all would probably call it hustling backwards. Shar, why are you working out? And we got Thanksgiving and all these good type, you know, these gluttonous type holidays around the corner. But I mean, I'm still doing my thing. I'm still doing my thing. Every morning at 7 a.m. I'm, you know, with resistance bands and on a treadmill. So, but now the reason why most of you all are here, my date from hell. You all, sometimes, you know, when we talk to God, we talk to the divine. Sometimes, you know, things happen where they're so far left, it's almost inconceivable. You know what I'm saying? Like I was driving home like, God, I expressed and I wrote down, you know, what I was looking for. And I also expressed and I wrote down what I was not looking for. And I feel like you took what I was not looking for and you said, let's add, you know, like Salt Bae, let's add some little razzle dazzle to this and send her out on a blind mission on this date. So first of all, it's been hard to get me out of the house in general if I don't know you. And even if I know you, you know, you can't trust people's whereabouts. I'm someone who has not had COVID to my knowledge, and I'm not interested in getting it. So, and some people, you know, for some people, the pandemic is over for them. For me, it is not. Even though it is painful, it ain't easy being on you know, I'm still on lockdown in here, drinking my throat coat tea and minding my business, you know, even with me having a car. And I told you all this a few weeks ago, just because I have a car does not mean my social distancing has loosened up, because it has not. But I feel like at this point, a lot of my friends and associates they've just stopped inviting me, which I'm fine. I don't have the FOMO. I really don't. By the way, Dr. Fauci, I think he said that our lives won't be, I guess, returning to normal. This is going to depress some of you all, but until the end of 2021. And so I was a little sad when I found that out, but it's like at the rate that 2020 has flown by, if this is any indicator as how the days are going to be melting together, you know, okay, 2021, I'm only concerned about rent freezes. I'm concerned about work. Like, come on, you all know there's still a lot of gray area and questions. By the way, I saw that Trump is trying to expedite the FCC or whatever has been politicized. No, not the FCC. The FCC does the airwaves. What's the thing that does our vaccines and stuff? What are they called? FDA, I want to say. No, that's Food and Drug Administration. One of these, CDC, the CDC is allegedly compromised and politicized, and Trump is allegedly trying to push out a vaccine before Election Day. Will you be taking the vaccine? I won't. So yeah, it's still a lot of just stuff going around with the COVID. So back to my story. It takes a lot to get me out of the house. So there's this guy that I met on the dating app, right? Remember how I told you all I was going to delete the app on September 4th? Because I had only decided to be on the app for a month. So I joined August 4th. I said by September 4th, I'm out of here. Well, I didn't delete it because I didn't want to. So there have been guys that have been, it seems like it's been an influx of guys in September that have been writing me. But this one guy really, what I liked about him was he was assertive. He seemed like he knew what he wanted and he was going after it. Like we talked maybe 2 days in the app and then he asked for my phone number and called me. He told me, I'm about to call you. I said, fine. You know, I know people who do not like talking on the phone or have like whatever type of anxiety or listen, my mother is definitely the mom when I was like 14, 15, like go set your own dentist appointment, and plus I'm an extrovert and a talker. Talking on the phone does, and if you really pay attention, you can cover more bases on a phone call than you can text. Because text, people can respond on their own willy-nilly. On the phone, it could be a 3-minute phone call and you cover 1,000,001 bases versus, you know, you're texting and I don't know. So I don't mind the phone call. So we talk on the phone and I mind you, we had been talking for the past 2 days and I felt like we had a lot in common. He seemed smart. He seemed funny. He was engaging. I like that he was a worker. You know, I'm a worker bee. Oh, and it's gonna, you all, this is going to go from bad to worse. So please buckle up, okay? So I'm like, yes. And so one of our like corny inside jokes over the 2 days of talking is that one time, the first time that he called me, I was doing laundry and he was too. And I was like, well, what are the odds? Like, you're not going to believe this, but I'm actually doing laundry too. Because that's just where the bar is when it comes to dating. An interesting conversation. And so he asked me out on a date that day. And I told him I cannot go that day. And maybe we can plan for another time, but I will not be going that day. Because mind you, when we talked, it was around like 3 p.m. And I like to still be in control to some degree. And I noticed that he was laughing and calling me bossy and stuff. But again, I like that he's assertive. And I know that we still all have, like, I'm all for smashing the patriarchy, but I can also acknowledge that there are remnants of the patriarchy that I still subscribe to. I'm actively working towards freeing myself, but I'm being honest. And so I like men that just are a bit of an asshole. I'm not going to even just a bit, not too much, but a bit, to keep up with my sarcastic humor, to keep up with, so he's kind of like teasing me or whatever. And so he then follows up and calls me again and says, are you ready now? This is around like 9 p.m. And I said, I'm not going on a date with you today. We can schedule for another time. Like I told you earlier, first of all, and then girls and some of you, whether you're gender expansive, gay, whatever, if you're femme presenting, I'll say this, if you are femme presenting, you already know what comes with a lot of times with first dates. I'm not a girl that's meeting a man at 9 p.m. for a first date. No, not off one of these seedy apps. No. So when I told him no again, he laughed again. And was like, oh, I see you like being in control type thing. And I'm like, but when the way in which he was saying this, like, I feel like I need to be very, very specific. It did not seem threatening. It didn't seem dangerous. But so then we end up talking on the phone call. And I should note that in my bio for this dating app, I do have listed that I'm a Black woman who is trans. I sure do. Because in the past, in all honesty, in my dating experience, I won't speak for other girls, but in my dating experience, it's like you can't win for losing. So I've tried it where I don't say anything until we match, and then I kind of disclose in the messages. Like, I've tried different routes, but I'm tired. So it's there. And so I should also mention, so we're going to put a pin in my date from hell, because I need to mention this. So there's this other guy who I was talking to for 4 days on this app, you all. 4 damn days. He then asks for my number. I wish I had the messages, but he asked for my number. He ends up texting me. He says, what's up, Shar? And I said, hey, blanky blank. And he said, hey, as I was storing your number, like I went to your profile and it says trans woman, like with the question mark. And I said, yeah. And then he said, sorry for the confusion. Don't want to waste. I was rejected. But let me tell you, because this isn't my first rodeo. What I believe is that that's not my last time hearing from him, because I've done this before. What's going to happen, what I feel, is that and also to provide some context, like I have my profession listed and then it says, trans woman, however many, whatever, like it's stacked. And so when we were talking within those 4 days, he asked me about my profession, like, how has it been being a journalist in COVID? And if you ask me about my profession, which is listed on my profile, there's no way on God's green earth you miss that I'm a trans woman. It's right under it. There's no way. I know men don't read. I know what you all are going to write. All this time. There's no way that he missed that. And what I fundamentally believe is that his goal was to get me off of the app, because now he has my number. He has, deleted our thread on the app like it's non-existent. And I'm going to get a text. I'm going to get a text. It might not be this weekend. It might not be next. It might be in February. But I'm undoubtedly going to get a text at 2 a.m. on some what you doing type stuff. Because I've played this game before. And I also think that in his rejection of me, he was looking for me to kind of clamor and be like, no, but wait. Because let me tell you, 4 days of conversation with someone, that's enough to wheel me in. I don't know about you. But we were conversing, checking in. I was getting good morning texts, and good morning texts with texture. Have a good day, beautiful. I hope you slept well. Like, I was getting, it was good. But so yeah. So this guy is like, so we agree to go on a date. And so what I should note is that with this is, now I'm talking about the date from hell. Okay. So I just told you all 2 different stories. Let me know if you're getting lost. So I tell him, I say, you read my entire profile, right? because I'm like, Shar, before we waste our gas, our time, our energy on a date, I just want it to be explicitly clear, especially in COVID. I want it to be explicitly clear that you knew what time it was. His response was, and this was a red flag, I'm human, don't judge me. He said, I have read your entire profile and I want to save something for us to talk about in person. So when we go on our date, you know, yada, yada, yada. So this is what I was telling my friends and my family. I said, my antennas went up because in Trump's America, you know, it's no laughing matter, but in Trump's America, you just don't know what could happen, right? I'm vulnerable. I'm a visibility doesn't equal safety. I'm a trans woman out here, and you talking about we'll talk about it in person? What that mean? Does that mean I'll be harmed in person in broad daylight? Because, you know, in Trump's America, it's let your freak flag fly. It's no holds barred. Anything. I literally feel like anything can happen. Like the nighttime or the daytime won't protect me type thing. Anything can happen and no one's going to care. Let's talk about it, even though I have before. So he says we're going to talk about it in person. So I agree. I go on this date. We went to a very public place. I picked the place. It was very, very public. I know they're outdoor dining. Very, very public on a main street, like a main artery in LA. And so, you all, this was really bad. So he texted me. I was running a little late. He texts me and tells me that he's parked in the parking garage structure of this restaurant, telling me to meet him in the garage. So now I'm thinking, now hold on now. I don't have a 380 because I told you all, I feel like I'm too emotional to be a gun owner. Because sometimes, well, not too emotional, but sometimes, you know, when you're over emotional, that can lead to irrationality. And I just can't accept responsibility for what I do with the firearm. Warning shot, who? You threatened me? It's, you know, like, it's either me or you. It's either me or you. So I tell him, I end up seeing a park in front of the restaurant. So I said, I parked in front of the restaurant. I'll get us a table. Because I didn't understand why he didn't park and get us a table. Because I was running literally like 10 minutes late. And those of you who know me know that I'm a punctual girl. But I was running 10 minutes late for this encounter. And I'm like, if this were me, I would have been like, you know, I got the table. So what's funny is, as a Destiny's Child stan, anytime I hear Destiny's Child's music, and I'm a long stan, anytime I hear a Destiny's Child song being played at random, I'm like, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. So, no behold, I get out of the car, and what do I hear? Which should have been a red flag, like, of all songs that this restaurant is playing Survivor. It's playing Survivor. So I get the table, and by the way, I was looking real cute. Had my little hoops in, top knot. I debuted a romper that no one had ever seen before. You all know I'm a romper girl. Go-to romper girl. It's the most flattering. It's not easy to use the restroom in, but rompers just agree with my body very well. It hugs what it needs to hug. It does what it needs to do. So I sit down at the table, and I see him walk up, and I'm like, damn. Like, not only is he cute, he's cute. Like, he is who he says he is. He's cute. And dare I say, even better in person, which also should have been a red flag. Because, you know, the ridiculously attractive ones, they can be a mixed bag. Especially, now listen, I can't speak for Toledo, Ohio, or Mobile, Alabama, but I'm talking specifically to Los Angeles. So he walks up, we hug, and take our seats. Now, I'm trying to remember this from memory. You all will still get the entire, all of the tea though. The first real red flag, and please do not interrupt me until I'm done, because the comments already have me screaming. So we sit down, waiter comes up, takes our order. This gentleman orders a beer. I ordered one of these specialty cocktails on the menu, and the waiter goes to say, well, if you order drinks, you also have to order food, just letting you know. So I'm like, I guess I'll have a side of fries. The waiter then says, do you want, you know, like our regular fries, our poutine version, you know, shout out to Canada, anybody Canadian, you know, the poutine is like with the gravy and the cheese curds, or you can have sweet potato fries. I wanted regular fries. I just wanted regular fries and sriracha. You all know I'm not a ketchup girl. Before I could form my lips to place the order, he ordered for me. Now, some of you folks out there might find that romantic, sexy. Me, I did not. in that instance, I felt like, because I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but I pay attention to social conditioning. And I feel like if you give people an inch and they'll take a mile. Follow me here. Follow me. So he orders for me. He said, we'll have 2 orders of sweet potato fries and some onion rings. So I'm like, onion rings on a date? Okay. So I let that ride. So we end up talking, and what I thought was, because I was like, okay, Shar, we're working with this. But what I thought was so neat is that he told me I asked his birthday, because you all know that I'm a slut for the astrology. I just like dabbling in it. I just asked him his birthday. And guess when his birthday was? Not only does he share a zodiac sign with me, but he shares a birthday with me. The years are different, but he shares the exact same birthday as me. So I was like, ooh. And he kept saying, yeah, I met my match. And I was like, maybe so. Maybe so. So I'm getting real comfortable in this date, you all. And so he's making fun of me. At one point, we're waiting. The drinks have come out. We're waiting for the food to come out, but I still have my mask on. Like, we're sitting across from each other, and these tables are fairly big. They're not like little bistro tables where you're all up on each other, like, but I still have my mask on, just casually, taking my sips and stuff. And I should note that what led to the birthday question is we were talking morning routines. Like, I noticed that he's a hard worker, a hustler. Our morning routines kind of mirrored, kind of like with waking up so early, having this type of like devotion, this conversation. And then, coming off the heels of us doing laundry at the same time, what are the odds? And it was like, oh, we have the same birthday. So, So I'm wearing my mask, and he starts joking with me about wearing my mask. And I'm like, well, we're kind of in the middle of a global health pandemic, and I don't know you. I told you all, the way I see things is, if you're inviting me out on a date, you've probably invited other people out on a date. I don't know what y'all done did, where y'all done been, what you've been up to. So he then says, it's amazing how we have the same birthday, and we're probably on opposite ends of the aisle politically. Yes, people. Yes, you guessed it. You guessed it. And I've had friends ask me why I did not get up and leave in that moment. If I'm being fully honest, how many of you all have gotten up and left from every, egregious date? Well, I have, for the most part. But if I'm being honest, you all, like, full transparency, there was something alluring about him. Not that I would have ever entertained a Trump supporter. Like, don't get it twisted, okay? But he was nice to look at. And I was kind of enjoying our banter. I was literally enjoying our banter. And I think I was just in search for something, because I had not been on a date since December. I typically, I've never had a I shouldn't say I've never had a boyfriend. I have not had a boyfriend in a while. But I date, and I date often. Like, when the world is spinning, I date often, So when I asked him why he supports Donald J. Trump, he said that Trump had done good things for his country. Now, let me provide further context for this. This man looked racially ambiguous. He appeared racially ambiguous. Like, I couldn't tell, from his pictures, I couldn't tell if he was light-skinned black, if he was Middle Eastern, if he was Latinx. It was the shape up of the beard, the texture of the beard, the complexion looked so I don't know. So it turns out that he, how can I say this? He was raised in Miami, but, he is an immigrant. That's what I'll say. And I should have known, because that stereotype about brown and black people from Florida. I just talked to Hope. By the way, Hope, I'm not in any way implying that you're a Trump supporter. But there is a stereotype about a lot, I'll say more so brown people than black, that are Floridians, that are, team red instead of team blue. And so I left out a key part. So before the Trump thing even happened, there was a girl at the restaurant who kept getting up. Keep in mind, we're outside. So she kept getting up and smoking cigarettes. And those of you who know me know that I hate cigarette smoke. I can deal with other scents of smoke, if you know what I mean. But I cannot deal with cigarette smoke. It literally makes me gag. And so he reveals to me that he's been smoking nicotine, tobacco, cigarettes since he was 12 years old. And then at that point, he puts the cigarettes on the table, and then you know how men are. He put that money clip on the table. I should note that when he handed me his ID to look at his birthday, he had this money clip, and the money clip had nothing but hundreds in it. I'm not kidding. Like, he had to have had over $1,000 on him in cash. Nothing but hundreds. No 20s, no 5s, no 50s, no 10s. Nothing but hundreds. But see, I'm not wowed by stuff like that, y'all. That's not what I'm in search for. But anyway, so the Trump thing happened, the smoking thing happened, and then we got to talking about, because he brought politics in it, so of course you all know it went there. So I'm like, we were talking about, in so many words, about navigating this country as with him being an immigrant and a brown person, me being a black person. What I noticed in a lot of his conversation is, and this is with a lot of men, not all, but a lot, what comes out of their mouth they feel is the gospel. And so while I was able to acknowledge his experience, and this is what I said in conversation, like, I'm not taking away from your experience, but what we're not about to do is erase my experience as a black person in this country, the very violent, harmful, like there's history with black folks in this country, a deep, and some of the racist history inflicted from people like you know, like that type thing, like fellow people of color. So what we can't do is this false equivalency. And I'm also not on this date for Oppression Olympics, but I could tell that I think we were both enjoying like this sparring match, so to speak. Like there was banter, but I was like, Shar, reel it in. We're, on a date. But like I said, in that moment, I could have gotten up, but listen, the drinks were flowing, the fries were dipping. I didn't touch those onion rings. The fries were dipping, and I was enjoying the space. I can't even lie. I was enjoying the space. And I'm normally not that fickle or shallow of a girl, but I think it's been so long since I felt like a man was in my face and paying attention to me that I got lost in the sauce. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I was like, okay, because I was on this date for over an hour, even though I should have left. But here I am telling the internet my business, so call it what you will. And some of you all I know are probably delighting in this. I think, some of you all watching or that will watch are probably delighting in this. Shar's perpetual singlehood. It won't be for much longer. But I'm not desperate. If I were desperate, I would have been with that man because he wanted me. But it gets worse. 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 So, so the date is going on. The conversation is happening. And so what I noticed is that what he felt that he was saying was like the gospel, but also he was one of those men that's like, well, I'm honest with you. Isn't that good? Like he was being very honest with me in a lot of his responses. And of course it was a callous honesty, like a throwaway type honesty, but that was like his main claim to fame. I could tell that's his angle with women. It's like, yeah, I'm an asshole, but at least I'm telling you the truth and I'm good. I'm nice to look at, because he was very, very, very easy on the eyes, except he smokes. But anyway, so, yes, Jordan, the fries were dipping, the drinks were sipping. It was cute. So then I asked him, I say, okay, so why am I on this date? Like, this is further along in the date. Like, we had just been having like surface level conversation because I wanted to reroute. Things were getting a bit too political, and I felt like, and he was like, look, you have nothing to worry about. I can't vote, so you have nothing to worry about. But I felt that it was interesting how he was able to look past all of the harm, the hatred, everything that Donald Trump has inflicted on literally everybody, and align himself to whiteness in this manner where you can say you're a Trump supporter based on one single act that he did, one single minute act that he did. You're able to look past pussy grab, like literally all of the things that Donald Trump, all of the harm he has inflicted, and you're on a date with a black woman who is of the trans experience, and you are comfortable enough saying this to my face. But I think, you know what, my friend Scooter, I got to tip my hat to him. Scooter always says, right idea, wrong girl. So what I think is, even in our phone conversations, I think that he already had his idea of who I was because of my blackness, because of my transness, because I'm on a dating app. He already had in his mind made up who I was, and he was in for a rude awakening. You're on a date with the Shar, the Jossell. Like, we don't play these games. I'm going to interrogate. Like, I'm not joking about like my profession. Like, I'm interrogating, I'm having full on conversation, and I'm not easily wowed by your money clip and, you being hot. That's not me. It's never been me. At 17, 18, or otherwise, it's never been me. So he then goes, I say, so why are you, he mentions to me, and for those of you who know me personally, you know that this is a huge trigger for me, and that is marriage. So he mentioned to me that I was on the date, and this, I feel a lot of black women fall into this trap. We don't ask for this trap, but because so many people, black men included, so many people look to black women for answers, and you know, and that's not saying that anything is wrong, but it ties into black women always being mules and always having to be these Mother Earths and laborsome. So he basically invited me on the date. I guess he figured I'd be a good candidate to be Shar Van Zant. This man ends up telling me to my face, because again, he prides himself on honesty. He said that he is flying to the city. He's getting married in a few months. This is what he's telling me on the date. He's getting married in a few months. And this upcoming week, he is flying to the city that his fiance lives in. So again, why do you have me out on this date? Because I thought I made it explicitly clear. Like I said, mentioned, we talked on the phone. I have a profile. I'm not here. I'm not looking for new friends. I am open to romantic interaction, and not even like in a physical way. Like, you know, a damn boyfriend. But he tells me that he's getting married, and so he tells me that he has this ex, and his ex likes women. And one time, and they would do threesome type activities. And one time, his ex brought a woman back to their bedroom, and he did not know the woman was trans. And I should note, pre-operative trans or non-operative, I don't know. But she had certain anatomy, and he said he had a lot of fun. And then once he and that ex broke up and he was a single man back out on the streets, he had, you know, a rendezvous in Vegas, which I feel like so many men, you know, it's more common than you think. There's a lot of men that have, you know, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's all I'll say. But he goes on to tell me that he had this encounter with a trans woman in Vegas as well. And so he asked me on this date. This is the reason he had me on this date, you all. He wanted to know, what is he? And he was meaning like identity purposes. What am I? And I said, I can't answer that for you. I cannot answer that for you, because he kept emphasizing, listen, I'm a straight man. I said, okay, I'm a straight woman. Now what? Gag. Now what? And I say that, you know, you all know that I say my identity, a lot of people have an issue with. I don't care. Your identity is yours. My identity is mine. I'm a woman who likes men. And that's just it. Now, granted, I am entertaining the thought of expanding my flavor palette, but that's just what it is. Like, you telling me like, look, I'm a straight, that literally holds no weight for me, especially in context of you having a fiance. But he basically, I was on this date, in essence, I guess, to be his problem solver. And what I did tell him, what I was honest about, is that I said, if you feel like you are about to get married, he explained to me what everything was like. And, you know, in a perfect world, I would have splashed my drink in his face and stormed off. But I really had a conversation with him, and I told him that he should save himself the time and his fiance the time and the heartbreak, because you're about to stand before God, the church, your family, and you're about to take vows that you're knowing that you're not going to honor them. And he mentioned, it's so interesting being in the psyche of some of these men, because he mentioned that he did not want to like be living in regret. Like, he didn't want to be like older and living in regret, which then led to him saying like he's still going to be, you know, doing what he wants to do with trans women, all while having a ring on his finger, which some girls don't have a problem with. But listen, and I once upon a time was one of those girls when I was a kid. And when I say kid, I mean like late teens, early 20s. However, on this side of the game, I don't play those games, because when it's my turn to walk down the aisle, because I would like to get married, if those games are played with me, you know, I can't say what I don't know how I would react. You know, I just don't know. And I would want the man that proposed to me to honor and love and respect me. So his fiance is in this other state. I should mention he's only out in LA for a few months. So, he's only out in LA for a few months, and then he'll be, you know, going to start that new chapter of his life. But I did tell him it would probably be easier and more cost effective to just call off the engagement than to have to deal with divorce litigation, you know, some time down the line. But you all, I was floored. I'm looking at some of these comments. A queerphobic Trump supporter of color taking me on a date, and he's yes, this is real. And so all the while I'm on this date, I'm like, God, you know what I don't want. That's why I said it was like I felt like God took what I did not want and did Salt Bay on it and sent me out, because he was what I wanted physically. If and granted, he did of course invite me to sleep with him, and I said no. But he was what I wanted physically, but he was nothing of the sort. He was nowhere near what I wanted in any other aspect. So then the final caveat for me is, as we are leaving the date, he pays for the date. He's a nice tipper too. I was paying attention. So you all, I noticed when he's paying for this date that he has abnormally long pinky nails. Take a sip. Every other nail is short. That pinky nail, abnormally long. Catch the beat. So I ask him, I already know what time it is. I live in LA. I see things. I ask him, I say, why are your pinky nails so long? And he told me, keep in mind, he's an honest man. He loves cocaine and ecstasy. Now, no ma'am. I should also note that, and this is just a personal preference, I have no interest in being with anyone who indulges in drugs. I just don't. That may work for some people, but I understand the industry that I work in and the city that I work in, the odds of that happening are slim. Because a lot of people, more than you think, and I'm not here to shame, but he's told me that he does cocaine and ecstasy, and he had the nerve, because he said, well, what do you do? And I said, I drink. And he's like, that's it? And so then he asked me, had I ever been with someone sexually who was high on cocaine? I said, not to my knowledge. And then I guess he tried to do sexy talk, like no one's ever sniffed cocaine off your nipple, in between your tits. No one's ever in between your thighs. Mind you, he's getting a little handsy at the table. And I'm like, no. And so if the first couple indicators of this date were not nails in the coffin, this certainly was it. So out of everything that happened, the support of Trump, the blind support of Trump for an asinine reason, in my opinion, the wife, the pending wife, the fiance, and then you're a drug addict. It just, no. So when the date ended, he walked me to my car, which was 3 steps away, because we sat outside and my car was parked on the street, and we parted ways, and he made me, well, he didn't make me, but he suggested that I promise that we'd see each other again. But I think he and I both knew when I peeled off, when Black is King, that's the name of my car, when Black is King peeled off of that little parallel parking spot, he and I both knew that I would never see him again. And in fairness, I would not be surprised if someone like him had another girl lined up anyway. I would not be surprised, because he was that attractive. And I know that there are a lot of girls out there who would look past everything that I said. He got money, he's renting this nice place while he's out here for a few months working, and he had a nice job. So there's tons of girls. He probably had someone had someone lined up after me, just in case, I was a bust or whatever. But I literally could not freaking believe that date. I could not believe that date. That was one of the worst dates I've been on in my entire lifetime. And I've been on a few bad dates. People forgetting their wallet, or I've never been really stood up, but child, that could be a whole other episode. But I couldn't wait to come here and tell you all. And like I said, being in a perfect world, I would have gotten up, because my politics are so in line. Like I'm politics are very tribal right now, especially with us being, roughly 60 days away from the election. I don't play. And just knowing where he stood on the aisle. And I'm like, I think what we need to come to terms with just as a community is that there are tons of people that are just like him, of color, single issue voters, in that it's like, like something that doesn't even directly affect you type thing. Not saying that why you vote has to be something that directly affects you, but it was just interesting to see that he put all his eggs in that basket. And I'm sure there was some anti-blackness, some misogyny steeped in the Biden-Harris ticket. I'm sure there was. But that should have been a... Oh, another thing. So as he's leaving, I see that there's a girl crossing the street, like about to cross the street, and he's making a left turn. You know, you have to be really, really alert. And he almost hit this girl, and she was like terrified because he's speeding. So she's like pauses, like, and he falls out laughing. And I was like, oh no, he was a real asshole. He was a real asshole. But like I said, you know, I'm sure he's probably laid up with someone right now, and they are doing what they want to do, which is fine. But I just was so misled. And what I learned is that anytime someone says that they read your profile and they say, let's talk about it in person, I went because you don't know what's on the other end of that. You know, he was very sweet on the phone. I didn't know what was on the what was on the other end of that, you know, and what was on the other end of that is that he wanted a little situationship, a little entanglement while he was out here in LA, and he prided himself on his honesty. Look, I do cocaine, I do ecstasy. Let me not say that because, you know, people will splice this and then do a hit piece on me. He looked at me and said, look, he does cocaine, he does ecstasy, he is a Trump supporter, he smokes cigarettes like a chimney. And, you know, I thought I was fine. Like, I was fine that night. Like, I went and told my friends. Like, we did a group FaceTime. I told my mom. But the next day, it kind of affected me because I was like, why is my time being wasted in this manner? Like, I don't know, like, you know, nothing sucks more than when you feel like you have the spirit of discernment and then you gag. And that's not to say I don't have the spirit of discernment, but I feel like I have a good kind of like read on people. And he really just turned out to be wild. Oh, I'm looking at the comments. He just really turned out to be wild. Yeah, I mean, that I'm trying to remember if anything else happened on the date. That was practically it, you all. Practically it. I really don't know what to do with that or what to do with that experience. I'm like, should I store it away? Like, I feel like I've been on, you know, I've been on my fair share of bad dates, but I've also been on my fair share of good ones. And I just was kind of, oh, TT, I see you doing this. I didn't do that song to open. I was supposed to open today's Aftershow to Britney Spears' track Circus because I felt like a clown leaving that date. But, you know, it's Versus Sunday. I did Gladys last hour, doing Patty this hour. So, yeah. And I have to go to the grocery store. Also, really quickly, have you all been watching Girlfriends? I tweeted and I said Girlfriends was not one of those shows that when it originally aired, it wasn't one that I was really like, ooh, gotta watch Girlfriends in the way that I would like watch Sister, Moesha, things like that. But watching Girlfriends as an adult, like I'm on season 2 and I'm like, it's a constant headache. I love it though. It's good. I'm binging it. It's good. But that's what I've been up to. And literally I'm about to go to the grocery store as I'm washing my makeup off, but I'm going to go to the grocery store, pick out my fish, my crinkle cut fries, and some stuff for a salad. And it's about to be a good time up in here. I'm concerned about the range of emotions I'm going to go through with Lovecraft and Versus, though. Oh, I just got a notification from the app. See, the men folk are coming in. Don't get it twisted. The men are coming in, but that was my first date in a while. My first date in a while. And then the date I went on in December, I facilitated that. That was my first time ever taking a man out. You know, we got to smash the patriarchy. But even though it's like, hold on. I earn, 72 cents to your dollar. You should be taking me out. But, and then prior to that, I think it was like 4th of July. I went on a really nice date with the DJ. But nothing really came from it. It was a very nice date though. So I date around you all. It's like I spot date. But it's like, it's a lot that comes with this. And when I say this, I don't mean this is like a singular experience. I just mean with, I guess, trans women and cis men. It's political. It's a lot that comes with. It doesn't have to be a lot, but you know, society and demands make it a lot. And I'm not just looking for a quick lay. Like, I know that I am more than, child, I know what I bring to the table. You better take stock and step back and look at what you bring to the table. I know what I bring to the damn table. And that man literally wasted my time. And I felt like I was being his damn therapist. Like I was literally, this man literally invited me on a date. And that's what was complicated, right? So he admitted, he read that I was trans on my bio, and that is what he wanted to talk about. I want to keep something for us to talk about in person because he knew, I'm sure he could gauge from our phone conversation that had he had pulled the honesty card and laid all of that on my lap in the phone, we would have never met. And so I don't know if it was out of curiosity to see what I looked like in person or if I was who I said I was in my pictures. Literally, we were the people in our pictures. And you literally pulled me on a date to be a social worker. That's what therapy is for. You got this stack of hundreds in the money clip. Take that to a damn therapist. Don't be inviting me out for drinks and sweet potato fries and sriracha. Oh, I just remembered one other point. So remember that I told you all one of the red flags was him ordering for me. This is what I mean when I say you can't give people an inch, they'll take a mile or whatever. At one point while we were in conversation, this was towards the end of the date, while we were in conversation, I was like looking off. So we're at this restaurant, it's tons of people, like we're right on the sidewalk. So I'm like looking off and I'm like answering one of his questions like this. And he literally says something along the lines of like, look at me when I'm talking to you. Or something, like literally like that. And so I had to tell him, I literally, this is earth to Shar. I said, there are other ways that you can communicate. If you want eye contact from me, there are other ways that you can communicate that to me, like asking, not demanding. And the way in which you spoke to me does not work for me. I'm letting you know that does not work for me. And then he was like, he was apologetic and he never tried it again. He didn't try it for the remainder of the date. But I was like, these are all red flags. Like, what in the abuse is going on? But then again, I think it's a conditioning. I think that he thought that when he got me there in person, I would see how attractive he is and the twinkle of his eye in his eye or whatever, and be down to ride. I also look at these things as tests. He was literally testing if he could order for me. Certainly he can talk to me like garbage. I'm black and I'm trans. What am I used to anything better? I feel like that was his approach. Granted, that's not what he said, but I feel like that was his approach because he was definitely running game. I can guarantee you everything that he played out on me on the date is probably the normal for him. Let's talk about it in person. Then he show up looking and smelling good with all that money and stuff, and he pulls the wools over some poor unfortunate soul who don't know no better. And then you wind up in a real entanglement. Because he's getting married in a few, like, that's such a huge oh, I'm triggered. I have a question. So let's see. This is from Ray. Hi, Ray. What was your favorite dating experience? I've talked about this on Kiss and Tell, you all. My favorite dating experience out here, even though it still wound up being a bad date because he claimed that he knew what time it was. And then he was saying things that I knew he didn't know what time it was. So my favorite date out here, was this guy that actually approached me on Instagram. This was a few years ago. He approached me on Instagram and he was fine. He worked in construction, but not laying the brick. He was the one with the clipboard, kind of like making sure the brick is laid right. You get what I'm saying? And we started talking in June. Like that's when I started responding to his messages. This was like in June. We went on a date like in September. And when he picked me up, I let him pick me up. By the way, I could have met him, but I didn't know where we were going. This is how, I shouldn't say loose, but this is how carefree I used to be. Like nowadays, I'd never let a man pick me up. This was 26 or 27-year-old Shar. I let this man pick me up, come to my house. And I didn't give him my exact home address, but he knew the building. So I let him pick me up. I get in this nice car. It was so nice. It was a white car with a red interior, but the way that it was not like tacky, not in a Mr. Biggs type, what the hell is going on between the sheets in my home type way. It was sophisticated looking. And there was a gift for me on the floor that I didn't open. Like it was like in the passenger seat. Like it was a gift wrapped box for me. And I didn't open it till I got home. But anyway, we went on this lovely date. We went to the coast. And we had, the drinks, the entree, the appetizer, like all this stuff, dessert. And then after that, we were zipping down the 405. We went to a hookah bar. And I liked that he was very attentive. He was so affectionate. like while we were waiting on our table, we both were standing. There was nowhere to sit because all of the benches were took. And he kind of like had his like, you know, it was kind of like she's with me, like his arm in the small of my back, but I didn't feel violated. He wasn't like cupping my ass, but it was like low enough to be dangerous, but still high enough to be respected. And yeah, it was nice. And then we got to kissing and doing all different types of stuff. We did not do the do. Not that that's you all's business. We did not do the do though. But I had on a very tight, I wore a romper. I had on a very tight orange romper. Oh my goodness. But when he said the red flag is when he was taking me home, he was like, he said something along the lines of like, I just can't believe like you don't have children or something like that. And I was like, oh. At first I was going to fire back like, why would I don't want no damn kids. Oh, you think I'm a cis woman, despite knowing. So the way in which he approached me is he was like, you know, he loved my videos. At the time, those of you who have been with me from the beginning know that at the time I was doing weekly YouTube videos, like every week, every Sunday I was doing weekly YouTube videos of pop culture rundowns. That's kind of what helped me gain exposure and further experience like outside of undergrad. And so I would post the shorts to my Instagram because back in these days, kids, Instagram only let you put a 15-second clip up. This is before you could go on Instagram and IGTV and all, you know, minute videos. This was back when Instagram first introduced the video aspect, and it was only 15 seconds you could put up. And so he said that he was watching my videos, and back then I used to also do Q&A, so there would be like trans youth that would write in, and there were always dating questions and things like that. So I went on this date fully believing that this man had watched my content, because that is what he said. He said he was watching my content. And I explicitly remember asking, are you watching the 15-second Instagram clips or are you watching what's on YouTube? He said YouTube. So I was under the impression that he knew that I was a trans woman. So when he dropped that kid line while we were in the car, I'm like, Shar, play it cool. We're flying down the highway and we're on our way back home. So this was one of the most romantic, attentive date, like fun. He was fun too. I get home, I wake up my roommate, one of my roommates, because I want to open the gift. I want my roommate to bear witness. I'm like, this man bought me a gift. And the gift was so sweet. So the gift that he gave me was a gift set of one of my favorite fragrances. And I should note that when we had the fragrance conversation, it was when we were getting to know each other. And that was back in June. And that was over the phone. And so now it's September. So you either wrote it down or remembered it. Like, I thought that was such a romantic gesture. But then he wanted to take me out the next day. And I was like, okay, let me get something clear. I ended up calling him. I told him, I'm like, I don't even want to, this is actually very painful for me, but just know he wanted nothing to do with me. Okay. And he wasn't necessarily rude about it, but I was about to give you all the transcript. And I just remember how much, shout out to Jace and his sister Penny. Like, Jace is like, we went through some things in that week as far as shout out to disclosure. Like, disclosure never gets easy. It never gets easy. It never gets easy. At least in my experience. I'm not speaking for every trans person. But if you're cis assumed and you move about the world and and there are men that are attracted to me that have vocalized that. And the ways in which I've been rejected, by the grace of God, it's been nothing violent or anything. It's just been like, oh, you're still beautiful, just not my thing type thing. And listen, I'm used to it. I'm okay. I'm numb to it. I'm okay. And then, but I've also had my fun. But see, for me, right now where I am in life, which I've shared with you all, I'm no hopeless romantic, but it would be nice to be validated in that way. Not that I'm depending on that validation, but it would be nice. I'm like, damn, am I only good for, men go out with me in daytime, but it's like, am I only good for, laying down with? I'm a fully formed, fully actualized human being with bills to pay. I have more to offer than my body. And it's but like I said, that's a whole other life. That's a whole other life. But that was the most romantic date I ever went on. Have you learned anything about yourself or others during this pandemic? Oh yes. Go watch some of those old after shows. I've learned a lot about myself, and I'm still learning things about myself. I think that learning things about ourselves is an ever ending, there's no end destination. The end is when the breath is out of your lungs. We will be forever learning new things about ourselves. I've learned a lot. And I think what I'm taking with myself from this past season is always, in every area, be a clear and concise communicator, because it'll save me a lot of time. It'll save you a lot of time too. Say it like you mean it. And it's not, and I'm saying it like casually. It's easier said than done, but even if you got to write it down, even if you got to write a letter, but it's best to get things just out there. Just say it. Say it. I am no longer a fan of the gray area. Okay? Give me either black or white. I am no longer a fan of the gray area. The gray area brings a lot. The gray area, like I told Hope, Gladys Knight's music is brown juice, brown liquor, drinking. The gray area will have you spinning some Gladys Knight, honey. So, and I've also learned with others, there's a lot of projections. And I've also learned that just because, and this may seem so surface and shallow, but I've learned that just because I am on a certain path, just because I am like radically committed to bettering myself, that does not mean that others are. Some people are comfortable being stuck in their ways. Some people are comfortable not challenging themselves, because challenging yourselves, it's going to unearth some things. It's not fun. It's not easy. Doing that self-work. It's not a fun process. It's not an easy process, because you have to unearth things, and things will surface that you thought were buried, or that you thought you were over with. And so that's what I've learned about others. It's just because I'm on this path, and like I said, radically committed to bettering myself, radically committed to making myself a better person for myself, and then in turn making myself being able to approach new friendships and relationships as a more whole person. That does not mean that everyone else is on that exact same path, because some people are comfortable being in their own swill and being in their own BS. That's what I've learned about other people. And that's not to say that people won't come to that realization. We all have our aha moments at different points in life, but you're not aligned with me right now if you're not doing the work, if you're not doing the self-work. That's misaligned with me. That's what I've learned about others. What did his car smell like, and did he smell good? Okay, Khalif, if you're talking about the date I went on last week, I was never in his car, but the man smelled good. He did smell good. And then the guy, my most romantic date, I can't describe what his car smelled like. I don't even remember what his car smelled like, but he smelled good as well. Because like I said, we got to kissing and touching and, at the end of the day, you all know how dates go. But I'm so glad I didn't, could you imagine what that would have been like if we would have really taken it there? I have about 2 minutes left, you all. I know we're already at the end of this after show, but you all got the tea. Listen. And that's not to say that, like I said, I want to keep reiterating, in a perfect world, Shar would have gotten up from that date, but not every bad date I get up and storm off of. I'm a complicated human, just like you're a complicated human. And this guy, there was something that was intriguing about him, even with all the BS. And like I said, he was very, very easy on the eyes. Very easy on the eyes. And of course, come on now, people. We know that helps. I have 3 questions left. Has this experience stopped you from dating in the pandemic? For now, yes. I just need to recharge from that experience. I hated it. Since seasons are turning, what was your song of the summer? WAP. WAP was my song of the summer. Any dating advice for a 20-something-year-old? Ooh, stay true to yourself. But also, make sure you have a good tribe around you that will hold you accountable to your mess. You don't want to end up like Tony Childs. Stay true to yourself and make sure you got a good circle around you. And make sure that you go with discernment. Have clear-cut objectives when it comes to dating. That is my dating advice. Clear-cut objectives. What is it that you're looking for, and can this person give that? And I don't mean tangible or financial things. I mean on a spiritual level. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I got 20 seconds left. I'm out of here. I got to go get my fish and my crinkle-cut fries. I love you all. I'll be on Twitter later on today. I hope you enjoyed this shit show of a story. And I'll see you next Sunday for the finale. Sundays with Shar. Bye.